Why my thing is doing that. Good morning. Just confirming you can hear me.
You can be heard.
Great. Step one, check.
Blair said the meeting will be starting shortly.
Shots for
It
kids,
is, yeah.
but
What a wonderful
Yeah.
experience.
Thank you. When we have them, yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's good.
Very cool.
maybe one-stop shop.
Okay. Yeah, I'll check.
And then I'll see you at 3.
Okay, sounds good.
Oh.
For just Zoom, is that okay? Or were you planning to
Today?
come down? Yeah,
Oh, I can come now.
okay.
She
I
didn't,
only
Madam
set it up for Zoom, but I
Oh,
certainly
Chair,
Got a room, so I can.
Mr. Shepro is.
This is just working on the questionnaire.
Okay.
She looks good, doesn't she?
I'm good.
It's gonna be a busy day.
Are you ready now? Forward with.
Yeah, we're ready now.
Here you're being investigated.
Oh, I am.
Okay,
Am I?
But we've got to move forward on this.
yes, yeah,
So I just wanted to start.
For what?
Can you get sent flowers?
perfect. I will, I'll check. with you.
yes.
Yes. For the auditors.
Oh, Jesus.
Somebody should investigate her.
Right.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be the first
Has
time.
nothing to do with flowers, though.
That's right.
I see Collington only got a year.
Would not be
Oh, I
the
didn't see
first
that.
time.
Yeah, yesterday.
Got Miss
They got a
Hall.
stern lecture from
and
them.
Jacqueline. Very good.
I don't think he even gave anybody up. Although maybe
I
that's
don't
yet.
know. I try to stay out of the drama. All right.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. We're ready? We're ready to go, Flo? Good morning, everybody. Today is Wednesday, June 22nd, 2022, and I will call the Legislative Committee meeting to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Allen? Bates? Brown?
Brown here.
Silva?
Silva's here.
Wallace? Huron?
Bates is here.
Bates, thank you.
Keurig is here.
Shepro?
Jeffro's present.
Strathman?
Strathman here.
Thumbs.
Thank you.
Quorum.
Excellent. Can I have a motion for approval of the minutes for May 18th, 2022?
I'd like to request unanimous consent to place them on file.
Any objection? Very
So
good.
granted.
Do we have any public comment? I don't see or hear anybody. We have under legislative update, the governor's been signing some bills. We also wanted, Ms. Bates wanted to add our gun safety topic on here. So I don't know if you want to talk about that briefly, Ms. Bates.
Sure, right now? Want me
Yeah.
to Jump in later. Okay. Well, I did call the state's attorney.
You're very hard to
after
hear,
what-
Ms. Bates.
All right. Let me come off of there. Is that better?
Much better.
Okay, thanks. I can't get my computer to do a darn thing this morning, sorry. But I did call the state's attorney after the Uvalde shooting to say what is there that we can do in Kane County, because I believe what she said was we are not really allowed to do much. We are not authorized to do much in the area of like limiting guns. But we could talk to our legislators to ask them to do something at the state level. So that's all the farther I got with that. But I would urge our committee to urge Kane County to talk to the state and try to get more better gun legislation passed. That's about all I have.
All right, any discussion? Madam Chair,
I believe that, and please correct me if I'm wrong, and I
I
see.
can't hear you, Madam Chair.
I see, hi, that's better. I see the sheriff is here, so he can help out with this. I know that Illinois has a red flag law. I don't know how it's enforced here in Kane County because it would be not only county effort with Sheriff's Department, but also collaborated with all of our police departments. So that may be something that if we're looking at gun safety, we can review that and that protocol. The only concern that I have with this, and I understand legally why this has to happen, is the fact that if you have a loved one or somebody who may be threatening you with a gun, who they happen to live with you, or a relative or a neighbor, and you have got to go to court and speak in front of them, accuse them of having potential of using their weapon inappropriately, that may appear to be very threatening to that individual. So that's a little hard. And I don't know if there's anything we can do to advocate for that change.
Very good.
So what would that change be, Madam Chair? What do you ask,
Well-
what would we be asking for?
That there would be some privacy and protection for
Oh,
that
privacy.
individual.
Okay, I did find my notes, Madam Chair Gums. I found my notes from when I talked to the state's attorney. We need statutory authority from the state legislature. We would need a bill. We would need legislation permitting us to do something about limiting guns because we are not a home rule government. I believe that's what that's in my notes. Maybe Aurora could do something like that because they are home rule. She
Okay.
said one thing we could do with ammunition would be limiting big clips. The state could increase checks and waiting periods and do more with mental health. So that's what, so I would like to do whatever is within our power to do.
Very good. We got the sheriff up here if you would like to comment.
I think
Sheriff
this
Hain?
is on correct. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. So I've had the opportunity to speak at a few rallies, of course, following Uvalde, and unfortunately, it always seems like we have to have these rallies. right after a mass shooting. And what I say at every single one of them is the sheriff's office has chosen to make a stance against gun violence since 4 years ago started. And we have done a litany of things to protect our community in the laws that exist right now. I have some extreme concerns that if you add in any additional legislation, it's not going to make a difference. And the reason is they're going to be smuggled here. They're going to be readily available internationally. That's the extended magazines. That's going to be the assault rifles. The law-abiding citizens are not the ones that are committing these horrific acts. It's people with severe mental health issues who have a breach with reality that are committing these acts, and they're going to get their hands on the weaponry, whether it be a large scale assault rifle or a handgun, which is even more readily available. They're still going to do damage. So what we've done in Kane County is with that, as we say, red flag law, through our FOID system, the governor has created a portal that never existed before. And it was very frustrating because all we would get is a very delayed letter anytime somebody's firearms possession rights were canceled, revoked for a myriad of reasons, whether it be an arrest, whether it be mental health incarceration. The list goes on about how somebody can lose their firearms rights. And we would not receive notification for several months. Now we can actively see who in our community has been revoked. Now we have an investigations division and a special investigations unit that actively follows up on those revocations, make sure people turn in their FOID cards, make sure they've surrendered their firearms. We also have a very proactive police force that has eradicated at least, well, now as of yesterday, 26 assault rifles and criminally possessed firearms in our community over the last, or since the beginning of 2022. That's essential. Of course, we have our social workers that follow up on these issues. And whenever we're called to a domestic violence incident or whenever we're issuing an order of protection, everyone is considering firearms as a status of that event. And if firearms are located during a domestic battery call, if firearms are located while we're serving an order of protection, we are seizing those firearms and getting them off the street. So we are doing everything in our authority and capacity to limit gun violence in Kane County. And I think we've done an outstanding job when we point to the fact that crime is down 16% in Kane County. Violent crime is also down in Kane County. Again, as I say at all these rallies, I know you're frustrated with legislation and the government, but what we have seen is that the people that really want to do horrific acts will get their hands on these firearms no matter what. So supporting proactive law enforcement, supporting social workers, mental health support, true correctional care in our jails is the really only way we can combat this effectively.
Thank you. And you know, you're right on it's obviously a broader spectrum because you can drive 30 minutes to Indiana to abate our laws here in Illinois. So it's literally half an hour. So I appreciate that.
Wisconsin,
Chair
Iowa,
Gumbs?
the list
Yeah.
goes on.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Ms. Bates, go ahead.
So this is always that argument of something will only do a little bit of good, so why bother? But on the other hand, speaking to you and to Sheriff Hain, if it does do a little bit of good, I believe it's still worth the effort. We had a mass shooting at NIU, not many years ago. And somebody, I don't know how they got their gun, but if we could keep just a few people from getting their hands on an assault rifle or getting their hands on these big magazines, and we have to take a lead. We have to be showing intention and leadership and action. So even Sharon Haven, even if this is not a big deal, I think it is a big deal.
Ms. Bates, I appreciate that, and I will agree with you. I will also point out that the sheriff has made extreme measures to address mental health. I'm applauding you because all those things are relative. Something that we don't often talk about when it comes to gun violence is the majority of gun violence is suicide, and we are trying. And the sheriff, I know, puts all of his heart into prevention and those things. So we'll continue to do, I think, what we can. But I do want to, address that. He has been.
And I want to thank the sheriff too for all of his great intentions. I want to help you more, Sheriff Hain.
Well, thank you, Ms. Bates. I do want to point out, if you do want to be proactive with your legislators, really the only additional law that you could push for is some sort of ban on assault type rifles, because there's already caps on ammunition There's already so many restrictions around who can possess a firearm in Illinois. I think that probably the assault rifle ban would be the only avenue that you could go down.
I'm with you on that.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah, I think we are our state is the strongest on gun safety and gun control of all the states, so.
But if we could get a ban on assault rifles, I think that would be an excellent move.
Very good. Anybody else have any comments?
Yes.
Mr. Shepherd, go ahead.
One, I thank the sheriff for his comments. I think, there's always a feeling that something bad happened, so we have to pass legislation. But if the legislation really doesn't add anything to the tools that law enforcement has, it's really a false promise to the people who work for it. And I think the other point that was made, Illinois has arguably, if not the strongest, at least among the strongest gun control laws in the country, and the city of Chicago similarly. And all you have to do is look at the number of shootings that take place in the city of Chicago, and you know that the average person who wants to get a gun doesn't really care whether there's a law against it or not. They're going to figure out how to get it. And piling new legislation that somebody has to worry about, as I say, I think is a false promise, and it creates expectations that aren't there. Long ago, I was involved with helping some municipalities draft legislation, and my senior partner was the former director of the state police. And one of the problems with assault rifles is, what is an assault rifle? And so somebody that passes a bill that says assault rifles are outlawed, you have to have a detailed description. And then somebody thought, oh, that's all right, we'll just list all the models. So it's illegal to have an AK-47. So I'm coming out with the AK-48, which isn't on the list. And I think the sheriff could probably elaborate more about the technical aspects of it. But, then you start to run up against how do you draft it, and the availability. There is, I saw on the agenda, the federal legislation. As of yesterday, I understood that there were still some open questions that may be holding that up. But unfortunately, the answer is not always to just write another law. A lot of it has to depend on other things. And as you pointed out, Madam Chair, you get in your car and you drive to Indiana.
Right.
Or you get mail order from, some other state. It's just, anyway, I think probably was said enough about it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Everybody, good on that? Anybody else have any more comments or
Yeah,
questions?
Madam Chair, Gums.
Ms. Bates, go ahead.
I didn't say this was going to be easy. And I didn't say it wouldn't need some very smart lawyers to do it. But we've heard our own Sheriff Ron Haynes say, how can we help the sheriff ban assault rifles? Let's look at this, please. And not write it
Certainly.
off.
No, we're not going to write it off. I mean, that's why I put it on the agenda. And I think your points are well taken. I think, if you have an idea or a position, it would be on the federal level, not the state level. So
Well, the state's attorney said the state level would be where to go.
Very good. Well, we'll have a deeper discussion on it.
Thank
We
you.
could literally have an entire day of conversation about that topic. So
I
Okay,
think we're
thanks
going
a
to have
lot.
somebody in a minute who could probably
Yes.
tell us how many assault rifle or assault weapon bans are introduced every year in the legislature. It's not a matter of writing something, it's a matter of getting it passed.
yes, I would appreciate that. All right, we're going to move on then. I just wanted to touch briefly on the legislative agenda page that I've been working on. Ms. Strathman and I have been collaborating on it. It's going to look beautiful. It's not done yet. It's going to look beautiful. That's important because our public needs to see what we're doing. And we're trying, we're starting from zero and going forward. So we've been collaborating on that. And there's a lot of details that go into it. We've been taking the feedback from other partners in the county, and we're going to put that all together. And hopefully at our next meeting, it will be completed.
Madam Chair,
Ms. Bates.
thank you. I've been reading the Lake County legislative agenda. So I see how that can be a template of sorts for us. Is that what your idea still is?
Can you repeat that? It could be a what for us?
It could be a template. Are we gonna use
Yes.
that?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so that's, yeah, okay, good.
Yeah.
I can see where it could be massaged to, but we still have to come up with our own. It looks like they came up with their own, a couple of their own bills.
Correct. Yes.
So we should be finding bills that are bubbling up in the legislature and then deciding what to create on our own. And they also had those values at the beginning, like county rights, things like that.
Sure, that'll be all included in that whole beautiful page.
Okay,
It's going to make a statement.
It's gonna make a statement. That's right.
okay. Do you need any help with that? Let me know.
I will certainly do that.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, go ahead.
Has this, since we are a bipartisan organization, or board, will this be vetted by both Democrats as well as Republicans? So
Certainly, yes.
That would be welcome.
Yes,
So, yeah.
yes, absolutely. Good. So we're going to move on. I just want to talk briefly about the lobbyist. Some comments from your chair here. We had an executive meeting last week or the week before, and there were some legitimate questions that came up, and I just wanted to address those. We had some concerns that the $7,500 split 4 ways was not discussed, and I just would like to reiterate at this legislative committee last month, we did discuss that. I have made a few notes that I referred back to. And also the question came up about doing an RFQ. We did inquire with Mr. Shepro, and he concluded that we did not need to do that RFQ at the time. This was in last month's meeting now. Also, I would just like to note that during that meeting, the concept of how we got to the lobbyist was discussed at great detail. Mr. Brown agreed with the decision. Mr. Shepro, I think the words were fallen fruit, something along those lines, that it was an opportunity. And the individual that was chosen had high praise from the folks that he reached out to. I just needed to set that record straight that all of these things were discussed, and we gave consent to that legislative committee. I don't know if my co-chair has any comments at all about that, but.
No, I think we had a really good discussion, a lengthy discussion. People asked all the questions and I think they received the answers. We covered a lot of points about it. And I don't think there was any attempt to keep it under the table or to do anything nefarious behind anybody's back. I think we were all open and above board with it.
Thank you, Mr. Shepro.
Yeah, I would agree with that comment, but I do think that possibly from some of the comments other people made is while we had a very thorough discussion about it, I'm not sure that the results of that discussion were understood by many of our colleagues. And, perhaps that was a collective, we should have said more about it. Is that seemed to me that all of the concerns were simply that we didn't know what was going on. And, as I say, I think we all did what we thought was the best, but obviously maybe we needed to do better. But otherwise, I would agree with the comments that were made.
Madam Chair, Bates, please.
Ms. Bates, go ahead.
I think we've been very transparent. However, transparency only works if people are looking. So I think we have to make sure that people are, sometimes you have to tell people a couple of times. That's the only thing. But I think we've been transparent. We just have to tell them again.
Very good. Thank you.
Although the proverb about a horse and water
Yeah.
does come to mind.
Yes, sweeten the water.
I was thinking more, tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. And then you can be done.
All right.
No, it's tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them.
There
what
you go.
told them.
I got it. You got it.
Law school trial practice 101.
3 times.
So moving along, we just kind of want to
Yes, let's
get
move
this
along.
going. In our executive committee meeting, there was some discussion about our memberships and the dual purpose that we have with, now we have a lobbyist, and should we maintain our memberships? So I wanted to bring that forth to this committee and give them the opportunity to do a little presentation and address those questions and concerns. So right now, I would like to bring Joe McCoy up from ISACO to give us his input. Also, before I get to that point, UCCI, bear with me, Joe. UCCI, we are not members of UCCI. We have not been members with them since 2017. So I just scratched that off the list there. And
Should we be, Madam Chair?
well, you know, I discussed with Ryan from UCCI, and he would like to at some point do a presentation with us, but that's outside of the spectrum of this meeting. So
Okay, thank
I'll
you.
go ahead and invite Mr. McCoy up to begin our presentations.
Mhm.
Welcome, Joe.
Well, thank you, Chair Gums. I appreciate it. Can everybody hear me okay? Well, then we're off to a rousing start. You always have to check with the tech first. It's great to be with you this morning. I was initially invited to participate via Zoom, and I thought, well, now that we are slowly making our way, not completely out, but out of the pandemic and meetings are occurring again, it sure is nice to get out and see members, actually face to face, not in a box. It's just really a real treat to be able to do that. I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about the Illinois State Association of Counties. I have brought a handout. It's a slide deck, and I have extra copies that can be disseminated to anybody who is not here. I just a few minutes ago attempted to send it via email. I don't know if it went through. I don't know if the attachment was maybe too large, but I have extra copies, and we can make sure that we distribute it
We'll get that done.
accordingly.
Thank you.
A little bit about ISACO's history. We are a fairly new association. We were incorporated in the spring of 2018. I was hired as the first and only staff member at that time to serve as executive director in the fall of 2018. And the thought behind the creation of ISACO was the leaders from Cook and the Collier counties believed that they were underrepresented in Springfield. And so they wanted to have an association that was going to be built primarily out of Cook and the Collier counties with a mandate upon myself and staff to continue to build membership throughout the state. We are not only a county board association, but our vision is much broader than that. We strive to affiliate with other associations, with other county offices, sometimes known as row offices, and work with them and let them know that even though they have their own organizations and associations, which they certainly should maintain because they do a tremendous job, we want to partner with them and care about the issues that they care about and work on the issues that they work about as well. So the county boards are our primary county office group, but we do want to kind of bring in the other groups in terms of our relationships with them to work on a broad array of county issues. So we do have that broad scope. When I walked in the door in 2018, we had 11 members. We're up to 29 members now, and approximately 80% of the state's population resides within ISACO member counties. So we are benefiting from having members that have a lot of the state's residents within their counties. So with that, I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the services ISACO offers. Like a lot of local government associations, our bread and butter program is our legislative program, and we're very proud of what we've built at ISACO and what we continue to develop to work on your behalf. So on the first page of the slide deck, you'll see it's titled Legislative Program. First and foremost, I wanted to let you know that ISACO offers a 12-month legislative program, meaning we don't just run a legislative program from January to the end of May when the General Assembly is in session. We run a 12-month program. We're constantly looking at legislation and communicating with our members about that legislation, interacting with the governor's office, interacting with state legislators as need be. We also believe in metrics because I think what you measure, you can improve upon. And so with respect to metrics, I can tell you that we as ISACO staff, we reviewed over 2,600 bills that were filed in 2022, looked through all of them. There were over 7,000 bills in 2021, by the way. The second year is always an off year, and it's even more so of an off year this year because they left town 2 months earlier. So there were 2,600 bills approximately that we reviewed. Out of those 2,600 bills, we tracked 176 bills. You may say that we included those within our user file. In 2021, just last year, we tracked over 800 bills. And now when I say a bill is being tracked, that is a bill that either directly affects or is of interest to county government. This year, we filed an official position on our tracked bills 115 times. An official position is a public position that's filed before the start of a House or Senate committee on the legislation. And those positions that we took were in support of our county platform, which our legislative committee develops and our board of director reviews and ultimately approves if they're in agreement. We wrote 4 letters to the governor this year asking that he take specific actions on approved legislation. In this case, they were all letters recommending that he support bills that we were supportive of. We published 24 of our News and Views e-newsletters since January of this year. Since the General Assembly has adjourned, including the one we sent out at about 9 a.m. yesterday, we have published 10 newsletters. Again, kind of underscoring the fact that we're not just a 5-month out of the year, 6-month out of the year legislative program. We publish all year. We share information all year. We also publish an annual public acts report as a service to our counties. It may have shifted a little bit in size, but the last I checked, because we're constantly updating it as the governor signs bills, it was about 23 pages long. It's available on our website 24/7. And these are the bills that were our tracked bills that were approved by both chambers. And so we include those in a report. And then as the governor begins to take actions on the bills, we go in and we update it with the public act numbers or indication that he vetoed the bill. And by the end of the process, and I think the governor's acted on all but, well, at least as of yesterday, all but 2 bills total. At the end of the process, the bills approved by both chambers report evolves into a public acts report. So we have an annual compendium of all the new public acts that either affect or are of interest to counties. That's all of that going back historically, not that it's that many years, but eventually it will be. Going back historically, we have a record of all those bills that are of interest to counties that were enacted into law each year. We also maintain a very strong advocacy presence at the Capitol building. We actually have 5 contract lobbyists. We have 1 in-house, and that would be me, full-time staff member. And then we have 4 contract lobbyists, and they are listed in the slide deck. And so we have excellent coverage in the Capitol, and we are able to do this because of all of our member counties splitting the cost of these lobbyists for us. Kind of sharing the resources becomes less expensive for everybody to have this representation because we have more people buying in and participating in the program and funding this advocacy service on behalf of our members. On the next page, you'll see it's entitled Bill Tracking Service. I'm a little partial to this, but this is something else that I'm very proud that we do because this is the first time that something like this has existed in the pantheon of Illinois county advocacy. We took some of our member resources, financial resources, and we invested it into the creation of a proprietary bill tracking program that's available to all of our members. You can find it on our website. And what we do is we take all the bills that we're tracking and all the amendments that are added, and they are placed into this website and into the service by ISACO staff. So if you're interested in finding out what bills are out there that affect counties during a legislative session, you can go to this, you can click on our track bill icon. We've got a couple different places on the website where you can access it. And you can actually search for county legislation in a myriad of ways. You can look by bill number if you happen to know the bill number. You can look the bills up by category because we categorize all of them. You can look it up by whether we support a bill or oppose a bill or no position. So you pull up support and all the bills that we support come up. You pull up oppose, all the bills we oppose come up in a list. You can look them up by whether or not they would create a new mandate on counties. You can sort those bills separately. You can sort bills based upon whether or not they would preempt local authority. And you can also sort bills on whether or not staff has determined that they could lead to a revenue reduction to counties. You can also run multi-sort. So you can look for bills ISACO opposes that create a mandate and reduce revenue. So you can run all these different searches. So this way, we've really empowered county officials and really, staff, anybody in the county and any of the county offices to go to our website and understand what the General Assembly is doing through this searchable format. And that is available 24/7. And again, it's something we were able to do because of our member contributions and the way we use the revenue.
Madam Chair, you got a question?
Can we put this up on the screen so that,
Not sure that they were able to get that email.
It might not have come through quickly enough. I sent it a few minutes ago, but I do have extra copies that we can distribute to
okay.
all committee members.
I can, Blair, can you Google ISACO? Really quick, Joe, may I interrupt? Are you at a point where the sheriff needs to get out of here?
Oh, absolutely.
Would it be okay if I interrupted you for 2
Please.
seconds?
By all means.
Thank you so much. Sheriff Haynes going to discuss a little bit about, so they're partnering basically with the county for our lobbyist position, and I wanted to get you up here before you had to get out of here. Thank you.
I'll call it a transition, not an
Yes,
interruption. How
thank
about
you.
that? Yeah. So no need for a
No
PowerPoint.
PowerPoint.
This is pretty simple. So over the last 4 years, I've had some experience with our state legislators, state reps and senators who have committed, hey, Sheriff, we've got X amount of dollars coming to the sheriff's office for these law enforcement, public safety needs. That money never seems to manifest. So obviously that's not good for any of us if the sheriff's office isn't able to support our budget with some potential state funding. And it always seems to be that it just gets left on the table and not recouped. So I was aware of the lobbyists that approached not just myself, but Madam Chair, State's Attorney Mosser, and Coroner Russell with the opportunity to lobby on behalf of us. And so what he proposed was a 6-month trial period. Hey, see what I can do for you for 6 months. It was a relatively nominal fee to grab a very experienced lobbyist in an attempt to get those funds into Kane County. And of course, the sheriff's office receives funding specific to public safety concerns, state's attorney specific to legal concerns, and of course, the coroner, well, we know what he does. But I thought this was a very unique opportunity for us to run this trial period at very low cost to our taxpayers. And if after 6 months, we don't see any fruits of the labor, we know what direction as a county as a whole we could take. If we do, fingers crossed, then, let's pat ourselves on the back and push forward altogether. So that was our cumulative thought at the time. And all 4 of us were fully behind the idea and on board.
Very
I
good.
hope
And
that answers the question.
as I understand, I appreciate you coming here to talk about that. And as I understand it, you spoke with the state's attorney and she said that you would be mirroring what she would say. So she couldn't make it today. So
And I think,
don't-
was Coroner Russell able to make it?
I'm not,
online?
I don't see him online, Coroner Russell, but he had another engagement too. He was going to try and pop in.
He's in far southern Illinois.
Yeah, he was going to try and pop in on the phone, but this is really all I needed. Mr. Shepro does have a question.
Yeah, Sheriff, when you, at the beginning, is the problem that we've gotten the money, but the state agencies aren't dispersing it, or did it never seem to quite make it to the final?
Well, therein walks the lobbyist, right? Because I don't even understand that. So I'll get a call from a representative or a senator saying, hey, great news. We've got this kitty for the sheriff's office specifically within this fiscal year. And I'll have conversations with them throughout that fiscal year. Well, it should be coming. Well, it should be coming. And then ultimately, oh, sorry, Sheriff, it's not going to happen. So I feel like it was left on the table for too long. And if we did have that lobbyist there to get a hold of it and point it in our direction, we would have received those.
I
funds.
know that there are some statutory disbursements that you never know when they're coming in. Like that used to be the case with some of the tax money, and it's impossible to budget if you might go 11 months with nothing and then somebody sends you a big check.
Very true.
Madam Chair.
It has been brought to my attention that oftentimes it's normal operational, that the budget for the state of Illinois is oversubscribed. And it takes advocacy to make sure that you are on top of the list.
Yeah.
And since we have to advocate for Kane County, and ISACO and all the other organizations will lobby for a group, it's very important that we have a strong voice at the table to encourage the release of those funds
Very
to
good.
Kane County.
Very good.
Just as an aside to support that, I know that in the Illinois Court of Claims, you get a judgment against the state, you get put into a big pile of people who have a claim, and somebody in the state decides what order they will be paid because they have a finite amount. I think the city of Chicago, there's like a waiting list of people to collect claims. So I agree, it's very important that you have someone to be there to say, we want to be at the top of the list.
Excellent.
Okay.
Very good.
Thank
And
you.
often,
All right.
if you don't have that, you can't get an answer as to where something is. It's just there somewhere.
You are on the same page with us. Yes. But
Yes, excellent.
Thank you all. Have a great day.
Thank
Good
you,
to
Sheriff.
see
I
you.
appreciate it.
Madam Chair, may I ask a question? This isn't for the sheriff, so.
You can split. All right. Yes, go
Thanks,
ahead.
Sheriff. So there's an issue in my district of trying to get a sound wall barrier on Orchard. And every time I talk to Tom Rickert or the engineers in Aurora, they say, it's in the budget, it's coming, it's coming. But Madam Chair Pirog, this sounds like one of those issues you're talking about where it's over promised. And so maybe a lobbyist would help me get my sound barrier wall for my constituents. Is this the same thing, more or less? Or is that too vague?
Mr. Rickard is in the audience. I think you could best address that.
Oh, okay. Well, I've tortured him with this many times. And he's always been very helpful. But I think he's stuck. I think we're stuck. Thank you, Mr. Rickard.
Yeah, I'd just like to share that it is
Tom Rickard
continued to
speaking.
be worked on. Sorry, Tom
That's
Ricker
right.
with the Division of Transportation. And I have just sent some draft agreements back and forth with the city of Aurora within the last month or two. And I believe they have the city has the first $250,000 of the total funding. And so it is progressing forward. These funding packages quite often do take years to make it happen and for the state to have the DCEO funds distributed to municipalities. And so everything is proceeding forward. And I apologize. I typically hand out brochures for my roadway projects that say it takes time, and most projects take on average 5 to 10 years at a minimum just to develop. And so we are working on it and are moving forward with the Orchard Road fence improvements.
I know you're on
Very
top of
good.
this. Would a lobbyist help make this money come?
No, I think that this is a little bit separate issue. These are funds that have already been awarded through state legislation, and it's just the process of receiving the funds. They are bond issuance that these capital funds are received, and then they are distributed once certain fiscal years are achieved. And so I think that these are already funds that are there. It's just continue to move the project forward, and that is occurring.
Okay, well, I didn't know I could
It's
whole
an
report on that.
intergovernmental issue,
Pardon me?
really, right? It's working out with all the different players that have to.
It's an intergovernmental at the local level. It's intergovernmental at the state level because certain funds are being distributed at certain times. And then it is also the engineering. And I think the city, because it is an expensive project, the city is just being careful to make sure that they don't start putting a lot of money directly into engineering and such until they know that they have the funding in hand. The engineering needs to know exactly what type of funds we have available so that we can build the project that's needed. Right now, there are, I believe, 3 different alternatives that are being explored for the fence. And
Yes.
until I think the assurances of the remaining, I believe it's $750,000 that the state still will be distributing to the city of Aurora. Until all that funding is there, they're just being careful in their approach, and which is understandable. It is going to move forward, though. I mean, the funding's there. The county's commitment is also there with with our 5-year program having. I believe there's $500,000 that the county board has adopted within the 5-year program.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We're going to reel this back into the scope of this meeting so we can get back on track here. Go right ahead, Mr.
Okay, that was actually a good point to take a break because I just finished talking about our track bill service that is accessible via our website. And you've all been talking about the efficacy value of hiring a contract lobbyist. And I know that in particular because I did watch your last legislative committee meeting. And I think I might be able to help here, might at least offer what I've observed with other counties, what my role has been. So it's very common for counties, particularly in this region, to be part of an association or multiple associations and have a contract lobbyist. I can tell you, Cook County, DuPage County, Lake County, Kendall County, and Will County all benefit from association memberships, specifically ISACO and contract lobbyists. As a matter of fact, within the first few months of my being hired as executive director for ISACO, Kendall County reached out to me to ask if I would assist them as they were looking for a contract lobbyist. And so I put together a list of recommended contract lobbyists, and they ultimately chose somebody off of that list. And I know that they've been very happy with that decision. Got a Kendall County, the Kendall County Circuit Clerk, who was a board member at the time. He's our vice president, and he tells me that the county's extremely happy with the services they're getting from their contract lobbyist. I know Kane and McHenry, you guys are in a conversation about bringing in a contract lobbyist. I don't know if the final decision has been made, but McHenry County, to my knowledge, does not have a contract lobbyist either, but most of the others do.
Yes.
Okay. As far as my view on how, and because I often get asked, well, if we have a contract lobbyist or if we have an association membership, why do we need the other? And I would encourage you to think about them as providing blanket coverage. So the thing about contract lobbyists, you need to understand that they can be highly effective, particularly the one that you are talking about retaining. I've got nothing but good things to say about him. I've worked well with him in my previous life representing municipalities. He's highly respected, very influential, do a lot worse. He would be a good choice. But contract lobbyists are essentially it's like having a timeshare because they have a lot of clients and they're across different sectors, different industries. And most likely, as you utilize a contract lobbyist, you're going to have a handful of issues that are of particular importance to the county, maybe specific to Kane County, maybe they have a broader impact, but there's going to be a handful of issues that you are going to be asking that contract lobbyist to work on. There are hundreds of issues, though, that affect counties. And so while your contract lobbyists and the contract lobbyists of some of your neighboring counties are working on the specific issues they're being tasked to work on, ISACO is providing the blanket coverage for everything else to make sure the General Assembly and the governor understand where counties stand on those various issues. So I would view them as complementary, not adversarial. Just my own opinion based on my experience working with them. Even in my past life representing municipalities, a lot of municipalities have contract lobbyists and we're members of the municipal association, including the one you're talking to. So those are just my thoughts.
Thank you.
I wanted to make sure you're aware of some of the ways that ISACO has benefited Kane County in our limited existence, because we are a very young association. ISACO was the county representative on the governor's working group that negotiated the cannabis tax rates for counties. We were the ones at the table offering input for counties, and I think everybody was fairly pleased with how the taxation component of that came out. There are other elements of the law that I think are some of the equity aspects of it that are still being kind of worked on, and they're trying to improve those. But I think from a tax and revenue standpoint, I think we did pretty well. And so ISACO was the representative at the table during that. We were also the lead advocate on a statewide basis to move the date back for certification of the new county board maps that was necessitated by a delay in the federal census data because of COVID. Hopefully we don't have to deal with that again. But we were fortunate to get that done. We were the county representative on a coalition of actually with municipal governments seeking an additional revenue from the local government distributive fund. That's the county and municipal share of the state income tax. And so we were able to secure a small increase into your local government distributive fund distributions. And I think as far as I know, and that's for this year, for 2022, as far as I know, that's the first time that counties have come to the table with municipalities in a unified coalition on a particular public policy issue. And so we envision doing that more often with our strategic partners. And we were also the county association that was invited to provide testimony that was relevant to the Property Tax Relief Task Force and Joint Committee on Ethics and Lobbying Reform, two separate task forces, and we offered county perspective on what they were working on, the type of legislation they were talking about putting together. That's kind of what we've done for some of the highlights of what we've done for counties generally. I also wanted to talk about some of the things that we've done for Kane County specifically. First of all, I know Chairwoman Pirog represents Kane County on the Cook and Collier County Caucus that we meet with quarterly in conjunction with CMAP. Board Member Gums is on our legislative committee from Kane County. So she's an active member of the legislative committee. And we will be getting together soon to begin talk, because it's never too early. As I always say, it's never too early to talk about the next year. Quite frequently, people wait too long.
Thank you.
Kane County officials joined officials from other counties throughout the state in a recent ISACO Zoom call to discuss how the Safety Act is affecting personnel decisions. This is an example of how an association like ours can add value. So Sangamon County, which is ISACO's home county in central Illinois, reached out to us because they were wondering what other counties were doing in trying to grapple with some of the personnel requirements. So my first response, well, why don't we ask them? And so we put together an invitation to invite counties from around the state to get together. And we had a pretty robust discussion about what everybody was doing and identify what some of the challenges were. And we're going to be having some follow-up discussions coming out of that. So that's another example of how we add value.
And just to note there, we did have our state's attorney's office and our public defender's office, myself and some other board members participated in that. So
Kane
it was
County
great.
was well represented.
Well represented.
Very well
Did
represented.
ISACO have any involvement in the negotiations for the Safety Act itself?
We weren't involved in negotiations at the table. However, we did put together a resource that identified elements. We didn't ultimately take a position on the bill because that's one of those rare issues that splits our membership. But what we did do is we went provision by provision and indicated whether we thought this was a positive provision or something that could be detrimental to counties. And we made sure that that was distributed. So we conveyed our thoughts on different provisions of the bill. We also prepared a resource about county sources of revenue at the request of Kane County. I think that was in November, December of last year. And back in 2019, we coordinated with Kane County to deliver the county's transportation infrastructure project requests to key policymakers to make sure that your infrastructure needs were put before them. The next page on the slide is concerning ISACO publications. I just wanted to talk about, these are some examples of what we put together. I like to think that we're prolific publishers. I mentioned earlier that we put out bills approved by both chambers report that eventually evolves into our public acts report. We also put out a report, and we're going to begin working on this within the next couple of weeks. It's a state mandates report. So we identify all the bills that were enacted into law that create a state mandate, and we compile those into a report for our members, and we share it with the legislators to say, hey, keep in mind that there's not necessarily any one of these individual mandates that breaks the bank, but the cumulative effect of multiple smaller mandates over many years begins to have a real price tag. And so we compile that information, and nobody else is compiling this for counties except us. We compile this so we can make that argument to the General Assembly to be mindful that what they do affects local budgets. We also publish, and you probably received this, a county quarterly newsletter. Goes out 4 times a year, thus the name County Quarterly, and we'll have our next one out either at the end of this month or at the beginning of July. We put out policy briefs on key legislation to make sure that our members and legislators are fully informed about what the legislation would do and how it would impact counties. We publish our county platform. I know earlier you talked about the page you're putting together for Kane County that would include information about your legislative objectives and goals. That's essentially what this is. And this document, it's a living document, and the Legislative Committee and Board of Directors reviews it every year. It lists what we support, what we oppose, what we'd like to see accomplished by policy category. And this document is what I use as Executive Director of the Association to take positions on legislation. Most legislation, if you construct this document correctly, most legislation will fall within the parameters of a directive that I've already been given by the Legislative Committee and the board as to what position to take. If there's an issue where it's kind of in a gray area and we're not sure, that's when we go back to the Legislative Committee, we go back to the board. And the reason it's important to do this on the front end is because it's unfeasible to be constantly reacting to hundreds of bills as they're being introduced. You're always behind. You have to be able to move quickly. You can't wait 2 weeks to have a discussion about a bill that may have already come out of committee and maybe accelerating, picking up steam. So we try to do that on the front end, and we're very careful about how we construct this document because of the importance it has to our legislative program. We also publish a document and information on our website about our annual legislative agenda. And I did want to mention that on our legislative agenda page, we link to each member county that has a legislative policy page or legislative agenda. So as soon as your page is ready to go, we will happily link to it. And the idea there is we have a one-stop shopping place where anybody can go, particularly legislators and the governor and the constitutional officers, if they want to find out what counties are interested in, what's important to counties. You'll see SACO's agenda, you'll see DuPage's agenda, Cook County's agenda, we'll see Kane County's agenda, Lake County's agenda. It's all in one place. And I think there's a lot of value to that too. So we hope to build off of that. I had already mentioned the weekly newsletters that we put out. We publish many of those each year, almost every week they go out. And we also put out federal legislative updates, and we're very indebted to our strategic partners with the National Association of Counties for educating us about the impact of those bills. And we try to help work with them to amplify their message to our counties. It never hurts to amplify a little bit to make sure the message is kind of cutting through the din of everything else. In addition to our publications, we also offer education and information sharing opportunities. We've recently partnered with a law firm to put out approximately 1 hour video tutorial on the public officers' ethical considerations. That was posted to our website and pushed out a couple of weeks ago. I would encourage you to watch it or share it if you haven't already. As I mentioned earlier, we also try to bring counties together to talk about topical issues that are of interest to the county. In the case I brought up, it was the Safety Act and personnel decisions. We put out slide deck presentations that we record to YouTube, or we upload to YouTube. The last one that we did was on the 22 spring legislative session. So the idea behind these is if you wanted to show the legislative committee or the board like a 10 or 15 minute summary of the major issues of interest to counties that transpired during the legislative session, this resource is available. It's a presentation uploaded to our website, available 24/7. You can upload it anytime. And then we also share webinar opportunities, either webinars that we would do or webinars that NACO puts together or other outside associations, organizations that would offer content that would be interested to counties. We kind of point out, hey, you might want to pay attention to these. These may be of interest to you. We also offer resource pages for counties on important issues we have on our website, again, available 24/7. We have a resource page with links to just about everything you would need to know about the American Rescue Plan Act, about the bipartisan infrastructure law, about the COVID-19 vaccine. And we also have a page that identifies all attorney general opinions and links to them that are of interest to counties. And that gets updated as well. So these resource pages, sometimes depending on whether an issue is front and center, they may kind of come and go or change, but we always offer resource pages on these really hot issues that are of interest to counties or that you really need to be paying attention to. And I also wanted to mention that we are a very transparent association. My philosophy of being a local government association director is that if our members are required to be transparent and post their minutes and information about their meetings, and so are we. We should too. We don't hide the P. Our minutes are posted online for anybody to read. And we also publish, per our bylaws, an annual report that's at the end of each year that summarizes the activity of the association for each year. So we're very transparent what we do. We want people to know it's out there. No one will ever have to wonder what we're working on or what we're doing. And you can also just call me at any time too. And I handed out my business card earlier. My cell phone's on that. Please feel welcome to use that at any time.
I use that from time to time.
You do. And I appreciate that. And then finally, I did want to kind of conclude before I open it up for questions by emphasizing the partnership that we have at ISACO with the National Association of Counties. They're tremendous friends, tremendous strategic partners. They just do a phenomenal job. I'm often in awe of the work product they put out. They kind of set the standard where all the rest of us, I think, are just trying to keep up. And Illinois is well represented within NACO. ISACO board member, Denise Winfrey, she's on the Will County board. She's actually going to be elevated to the ISACO presidency in Colorado next month. So we're excited about that. She's a really hard worker, and it's good to see good things happen to good people. ISACO Vice President Matt Prochaska, he's now the Kendall County Circuit Clerk. He is the NACO membership chair. All 6 NACO board members from Illinois are from ISACO member counties. And ISACO appoints Illinois county officials to the numerous ISACO policy steering committees that have a real impact on shaping federal policy. So we work very closely with NACO. We're really fortunate to have that relationship. And I think it strengthens Illinois counties having that type of a relationship with NACO. And at this point, I wanted to see if anybody had any questions of me.
Does anybody have any questions up to this point?
Madam Chair.
Ms. Bates.
So just as an example, because you were talking about what you do for the counties, I just Googled, or I just searched for CEJA on your website, Climate and Equitable Jobs Act, which I'm very interested in, and it's very difficult to understand all of the benefits that a county can receive from that bill. And I can't find it on your website. Is that something you're tracking or not tracking for?
That's not an issue that we've created a resource page for, but because you're asking, we're more than happy to do it. And that's also the benefit of an association. If I know what our members are interested in, then I can make sure, I mean, sometimes I just instinctively know, but in this case, if you identify something, I'm more than happy to put the information up, because if you're asking, odds are other people would be interested as well.
Thank you. It's a $9.5 billion bill, and Kane's share of that could be, $500 million of that. So I'm very interested. I'm the chairman of the Environmental Committee. So I'd like to know, I'd like some help on how to benefit from that bill for Kane County. Oh, here comes the notepad. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. We will work on it. Thanks for letting us know.
Thank you.
Very good. I appreciate it. Anybody else have any questions for Ms. McCoy?
Just a comment. I have found JODE and the organization to be very valuable, highly responsive, honest in its delivery. And when I asked for that paper on opportunities for revenue for Kane County, I asked several other people before I came to you, and no one seemed to have it in one concise form. And within a couple of days, all of a sudden appeared in my inbox, and it has been used consistently as a resource.
I'm glad it was
That
helpful.
scary list you had.
It's a wonderful list.
And again, that's another example of how if we know what some of the needs are, we're happy to fill those gaps. Because until you and I had that conversation, I was unaware that something like that didn't exist. So we made it exist.
And I'm sure other counties could find it of value as well.
Do we have that list? Have we
Excellent.
received that list? Madam Chair?
No, you did not receive that list.
On our website.
It's, but it is on the website now, on ISACO's website.
I'll send it to you.
Very good. All right. Thank you so much. And just for everybody, we did invite the Association of Counties to be here. They could not make it today. Just Kelly was not able to be here today, just FYI. So at this point, thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. You're gonna stick around, you can stick around. And now we have joining us via Zoom, our representative from NACO, Mr. Ataco, and Kim Hall are joining us from the east side of our country. And we'd like to welcome them to give a brief discussion on what's going on with NACO.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. This is Mark Rataco, Chief Government Affairs Officer at the National Association of Counties. I appreciate the kind words from our partner at ISACO, and our state association partners throughout the country truly are that, working in tandem to improve counties. NACO's motto is Stronger Counties, Stronger America. That's what we attempt to do every day. So I'm going to give a short presentation about our advocacy. That is what I'm in charge of at NACO. And I will then kick it over to my colleague, Kim Hall, who could talk about NACO membership outside of advocacy. So if you'll allow me, Madam Chair, to share my screen.
Yes, absolutely.
Hopefully you're seeing a presentation right now.
Yep.
Again, I work on our federal advocacy. I'm advocating on Kane County's behalf to the federal government. This is to members of Congress, to the administration. I myself worked in Congress for over a decade and have really strong relationships with the current White House, the former White House, and bipartisan members of Congress. So NACO's board of directors approved these federal policy priorities, which I won't read out to you, but one that I really want to talk most about because it animates all of our work is restoring the balance of federalism and optimizing intergovernmental partnerships. This is what I view as my main role, is elevating Kane County's seat at the table when federal policies are being made. And how do we do that? We make sure that we produce and deliver the highest quality work product that we possibly can, and always attempt to tell the county story to our federal policymakers. So a lot of my job is really taking what I've heard here today and relaying those county messages and what is happening in county boards throughout the country to the White House, to Congress, and to federal agencies. But in addition to making sure that counties have a seat at the table, we have specific policy priorities that you can see here that run the gamut and are important to many counties throughout the country. The way that we sort of organize ourselves, you might, like you, Madam Chair, in this committee, I expect you think you work on everything and every day is different. And that's a lot like the National Association of Counties as well. We organize ourselves into committees in order to advance our advocacy work. And I think I put up this slide to make you all aware that NACO staff has no role in advocating these policy priorities. All of these priorities and all of these advocacy and lobbying directives come directly from you, the members. And the way that we organize this work is through this committee structure, which again, seems like, based on the meeting that I just witnessed, similar to the types of meetings you have at the county level. We also have caucuses that don't necessarily make policy, but are a way to organize ourselves. The Large Urban County Caucus, the Rural Action Caucus, and the Western Interstate Region, which are non-policy making, but sort of peer-to-peer exchanges that occur. And I'm sure Kim is going to talk about where these peer-to-peer exchanges occur, which is at our events that we have throughout the year. I oversee a staff of 16 people that work to promote these advocacy priorities. So these are the foremost local government professionals in town. They all have experience working with the federal government. Starting with me, again, worked in the House and Senate. Have deep ties to administrative officials in both parties, and so do the rest of these folks that work on our team. We spend a lot of our time believe it or not, based on all the issues that I said, you might be wondering how we can focus at all. But we do focus a lot on the American Rescue Plan Act. Not only do we focus on making sure that Kane County is able to spend and invest money wisely, legally, and efficiently, we were also key players in crafting that legislation. So myself and our CEO, Matt Chase, we were in the room when that bill was being written, and the bill that resulted is very good for counties. It's a direct allocation to every single county in America. The eligible use of funds are very broad. The subsequent Treasury rules allow for even more broadness. And while we're also tracking the Treasury guidance, we're also influencing Treasury's regulatory process by going to them and having them tweak their rules based on our experience and what we're hearing from counties across the country. We have resources, more resources than you can imagine. I want to point you to this specific one. This is the Bible for how to invest the American Rescue Plan Act. It's available on our website. There's also a QR code on a later slide that you could just scan to take you there. If you read one thing about the American Rescue Plan as a county official, I really implore you to read this. It is a comprehensive summary of the rule and also gives sort of best practices about how other counties are investing their American Rescue Plan Act dollars. That's the QR code there. I'll leave this slide up for a second so you can take a camera phone picture of it. It will take you right to that place on our website. And again, this isn't a reactive product. We are proactive in shaping regulatory policy and reporting on that regulatory policy, which I think sets us apart from other consultants that you might be able to find. A lot of that ecosystem is reporting about what happened, but we're actually shaping what's happening. And I agree with my colleague from ISACO is that these memberships that you might be considering are actually very complementary. There's really no one that's able to do what we're able to do at the federal level. So, I think having it be a sort of a complementary mindset for the different memberships that you have is probably the best way to think about it. We're deeply involved in the same way as the American Rescue Plan, the bipartisan infrastructure law. This, while the American Rescue Plan was a major shot in the arm fiscally for counties, it's two massive lump sums over the course of 2 years. The bipartisan infrastructure law is a similar amount of money, but in several different programs. There's actually 74 programs that counties are eligible to apply for, and that counties can be directly funded through the federal government in order to improve all types of infrastructure. And we have the only matrix that I've seen for counties that will track the funding opportunities available to counties in the bipartisan infrastructure law. Again, we work with our state association partners to communicate this to our shared members. We are, reporting to each other, to our state association members about what's happening on the ground. So that really is a true partnership, especially as it relates to the bipartisan infrastructure law implementation. I'll leave the QR codes up here for a sec. I wanted to just part of our work is making sure that both counties are really educated about what other counties are doing and our federal policymakers are educated as well. And that comes from really, best in class resources and publications, which are all available to our members. We're also, if there's three things we're focused on, the American Rescue Plan, bipartisan infrastructure law, broadband deployment is the third. We've had many members from Illinois on our broadband task force, which made policy recommendations to Congress and to the administration about how to get more residents connected to high-speed internet. And many of those recommendations were actually turned around and put into the bipartisan infrastructure law to show you sort of the process that NACO is involved in, sort of soup to nuts, as we think about advocacy. So with that, I'd love to turn it over to Kim Hall, who can talk more about the benefits of NACO membership, and certainly open to questions now or at the end.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, committee, for allowing us this opportunity. I think Mark said it well. We have so much that we offer that that's part of what our staff is for, is to help guide you through that. May I share my screen?
Yes, go right ahead.
Let me see if I can do it. Not my strength. Hey, look at that.
All right.
Hey, I did it. I'm always so proud of myself when I do that. I'm in membership for a reason. Nothing static, no stats, no nothing like that. Okay, so
If you can make it full screen, then we can read it a little easier.
there we
for
go. Full screen, full screen, full
Slideshow.
slideshow.
Or not, it's okay if it doesn't get too small.
Oh, why can't I find slideshow? There we go. Oh. That didn't work, did it?
That's okay, sorry to bother you.
No, that's okay. Hey, that's better though, right?
Yes.
Okay. So basically, NACO kind of nets out to these basic categories. Mark talked a lot about access to the seat at the table. That's pretty essential. I think one of our officers at one point said, you're either at the table or on the menu. And I'm sure King County would prefer to be at the table. And NACO certainly gives you that opportunity to do that. Again, it's also that chance to engage on issues that matter and network with folks. All of our members, they've walked in your shoes. They get it. And having a national network of colleagues who you can reach out to help you solve problems so you're not recreating the wheel is invaluable. As a matter of fact, I think that's, along with the advocacy that Mark talked about, that is really one of the biggest values our members that I hear them say. In addition, though, we do help your county save money, time and resources, taxpayer dollars. And of course, our whole objective, our whole goal is to help counties succeed. So I'll just touch on a few things. Engage with other members, as I mentioned, important conversations, but also, we provide educational opportunities and other initiatives. So Stepping Up initiative, after hearing your sheriff speak about mental health issues and all that, NACO partners with the organizations that are noted on the screen. It's a national initiative through Stepping Up to reduce the number of people with mental health illnesses in jails. Jails have become the #1, apparently anyway, provider of mental health services. And of course, that's not where that should happen. So Stepping Up is a no-cost initiative that I do encourage King County folks to consider looking into. For your teams, we and you, frontline leadership, any leader in a county, we provide this NACO High Performance Leadership Academy. Thousands, literally, of county leaders and frontline staff have participated. The comments and feedback we get from this program are actually pretty remarkable. So not only do teams tend to work together if they go through the program together, but just it's life-changing for people as individuals. I've taken a ton of leadership courses, to be candid. I'm sure you all have too. We've all been around for a good number of years. This is, even if there was information in this program that I've kind of heard before, the way they frame the program and structure it, it gives you relevant, usable tools that you can use today, the same day you learn it. It's online, it's 12 weeks. And I just cannot emphasize enough how important it is to, if you've got someone who you're trying to retain, I don't know, it's retention in your county with employees. If that's an issue, this is a tool. You can demonstrate your commitment to them. Saving time, money, and resources. And I did mention taxpayer dollars. We have resources to help your residents save, to help your county save, and of course, your county officials and staff save more. There we go. So we have a lot of cost saving solutions. And I'll just highlight a few here. Nationwide, we do partner with them, and that's where your county employees can help save for their retirement. We have our 3+1 program, our county tech exchange, and then our Live Healthy county program. So the tech exchange. So actually several folks from your county do already participate in the tech exchange. And basically that is an extensive resource of not only documents and information, but peer network for your county leaders, your IT leaders. And IT has escalated in terms of its importance in your county and anywhere, actually, it doesn't matter what, in terms of keeping your county safe. And that's why we introduced the cyber attack simulation. So because Kane County does participate in the tech exchange, this program is free. It's normally almost $800. You can send as many people as you want. The simulations become a fantastic opportunity to elevate awareness and give the participants tools that they can use to, and Mark said it earlier, it's being proactive. It's not being reactive. So these two opportunities through NACO give IT leaders the chance to be proactive. And again, that network in case they have questions or something does happen, which of course you don't want that to happen. I'm going to talk about this one. So NACO has an arm called the Financial Services Corporation, FSC, and they have this program that is basically a liquidity management tool. As I said earlier, you don't want me touching tech and you really don't want me touching numbers. However, I do want to point this out. This tool has saved counties literally thousands of dollars in, it's increased their revenue thousands of dollars by using this program. It's not a they don't recommend any investments to make. This is a tool for a county to understand and identify all their cash and how it generates revenue and when you can use money at what times so that you're maximizing the money that you do have. And I would be more than happy to connect you with our colleague to help you understand that better. Live Healthy. So y'all do participate in our Live Healthy discount program. It does not cost your county anything. And we have a research tool called County Explorer. And upon looking at that, it's federally available data. And based on 2020 information anyway, 28.6% of Kane County residents have incomes below 50,000. So this program not only helps them by giving them a way to save money on their prescriptions, but it can also help anyone. It's not insurance. It's a supplemental program. And all the county needs to do is have one person, we'd actually recommend to manage this program. Once the materials are ordered, it's a matter of getting them out to your public in whatever way works in your county. We have digital resources, we have printed resources, but we renegotiated our savings and they can save up to 80% on generic drugs and 40% on name brands. That's a big deal. Our Minute Clinics, that's a 15% savings. And then we do have low-cost health and dental programs. They are so low cost. It's like $575 a month per person, or you can do it in a household membership. But that provides you with x-rays, LASIK surgery, the dental covers, dental cleanings, and just a huge range of services that sometimes people don't have access to because they cannot afford it. So I would love to see, make sure that our contact is current for this program, because your savings weren't as high as they could be based on the stats I just read you. So I would love to understand how we can make sure that y'all are promoting that program. You know, our whole goal is to help your county succeed. And we do that through a huge range of ways. Mark mentioned our webinars. Y'all are very active on our webinars, by the way, which is awesome. You can access recorded.
Kim, we lost your audio.
Uh-oh,
There you go.
you got me?
Yeah, you're back.
Yeah, my internet is saying it's unstable. But that's probably good cue to stop. But there's just so much. And I'm very happy to take questions. It's a pleasure to work with you. Y'all have been a member for quite a while. And of course, we'd love for that to continue.
Madam Chair Bates, please.
Ms. Bates, go ahead.
Oh, Kim, you said 28.6% at less than $50,000 in King County. Was that per person or per household?
Per household.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
I can include, so what where I pulled that information from, it's a tool we have online. It's called County Explorer. And we have a whole team that works on this type of information gathering. We have over 800 data points on counties all across the country. You can compare your county to other counties. You can get stats on your own county. If you have a grant writer or you do submit grants, you can get stats for your grants. If you're making presentations, you can just have data to substantiate what you're talking about and lend credibility to a conversation. I think Joe said it earlier, data, we go with data. It helps you, make a concrete argument about whatever you're doing or just presentation.
Thank you.
So, yep. Yes, you're welcome.
Yes. I appreciate you guys being here, Mark and Kim. I appreciate everything you guys have explained to us. I think we're underutilizing our memberships.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
yeah.
I don't see anyone registered for our annual conference. It's in Adams County, Colorado this year. And it's not too late. It's July 21st through the 24th.
Yes, my co-chair and I have been discussing it, so we'll see. Speaking with Mark on the telephone, the peer-to-peer was something that he had talked about, and we agree that, sometimes we have to get in the weeds with folks to get things done, so. But I appreciate, anybody else have any comments or questions?
I'm
Y'all
going to-
have a better idea of where to get more information now?
This was very interesting. Thank you.
Yes, very.
You're very welcome.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to include a link to our County Explorer in the chat. I
Thank
think
you.
I just went through. And then I'll also include a link to our annual conference. But I'll also put my contact information in here. The more you use it, the more you get. And that's, we're happy to help you do that. NACO is big. We have civic education. We have so many things that you could be doing to support your efforts, and others too. Mark mentioned committees. Committees are a 1-hour phone call a month. We will always encourage you to come to a conference, but you do not have to come to a conference to participate. Now, as you progress and get interested and want to have a bigger seat at the table, you will have to go. But it is just a phenomenal opportunity to learn what's going on up to the minute. Our staff, Mark's team is remarkable. I'm in constant awe of what they know and how effective they are, and just it's reliable information that you can count on, and it's timely.
Excellent. Well, I do want to thank you guys for all the work you're doing. I appreciate everybody for coming today. Does anybody else have any more questions or comments for our presenters? All right, seeing none. Thank you guys again.
Thank you.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Strathman, do you have any, we don't have any new business that I'm aware of. Do you have any comments?
I think it was very informative today to have these presentations, and I learned a lot. And I think I also think we're underutilizing our memberships.
Very good. Thank you. We have no need for executive session. And with that, I'll take a motion for adjournment.
Bates moves.
Moves.
Strathman seconds.
Strathman seconds. Thank you, everybody, for participating today. I greatly appreciate it.
This was very interesting, Madam Chair and Madam Co-Chair,
Thank
whichever.
you, and we'll see you at the next meeting.